Hello, welcome to Reversal of the Muse. My name's Laura Marling, and for those of you just joining us, this is a series of conversations that I've been having with various people, mostly women, working in and around studios and musicians and the music industry, talking about female creativity and how it is being nurtured, particularly in the context of the very male-dominant environment of studio and music industry in general. So today I'm talking with Shura, and Shura is a London-based musician, and I had heard Shura's music in the last couple of years, and in the last year or so I've got to know her a bit, and she's fantastic. She is around my age and is obviously a very different musician to me. She's just a lovely person and had some interesting things to say about the embodiment of gender and its relation to creativity. And also joining us later on in the podcast is Marika Hackman, who is another phenomenal musician about my age, London-based, and we have a good old natter about her experience of her first album release and how that was received and what some people chose to focus on about Marika. Because when I discovered Marika's music, I was so blown away. Perhaps because she seemed close to my genre, I sort of felt a bit intimidated by her existence in the best possible way. And I was really interested to see how the process of making her album and then having it released and all the stuff that goes around that would be. And I mean, she made an incredible album and she's making another incredible album. And I feel like the incredibleness of her artistry was somewhat lost in the way that she was received by the media. I'm not sure I'm the best person to have an objective judgment on that because I was particularly focused on her career and I don't really focus on anybody else's career, but I took particular interest in her, so I wanted to discuss that a bit with her and how she felt about that. So here you go. Please come and see us again at Reversal of the Muse.
I picked up a guitar when I was 13 and I just used it to facilitate writing songs. It wasn't that I wanted to become a kind of, a virtuoso.
Yeah.
It was just a means to an end for me. And so I guess I always really wanted to be in a band, but I never found people to be in a band with, and I just realised that, well, if I could wait for the perfect drummer or whatever it is to turn up, or I could just start doing it myself. And I think I've always been that kind of a person of just not really wanting to ask for help or guidance, of just wanting to pioneer it myself. It's probably also being a control freak. I remember having colouring in books as a child, and Nick, my twin, would always try and colour them in, and if he went kind of a millimetre outside the line, it was just kind of rained hell down on him. So yeah, it was just, I guess I learned because no one else was doing it for me.
Right.
And I kind of accepted that as a challenge.
Do you think that that's a feminine approach to take the initiative to learn it by yourself?
I don't know whether, I mean, it was really interesting when you first kind of mentioned to me the concept of this kind of project, and I was like, it's funny that you should want to talk to me because I feel so unfeminine in a way. I don't feel like a boy either, but I've always sort of been the boy, because I grew up as a twin, and there was two examples of a human being that were easily comparable to one another. Mm-hmm. One was a boy and one was a girl, and the boy was incredibly feminine, and the girl was very, I guess, traditionally masculine. So I've never really felt feminine, but then saying that I guess a lot of women do kind of have a habit of doing stuff themselves because they don't want to necessarily ask for help, because maybe it's seen as like a weakness or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think in that, if I might unpack that quickly, I think what I mean by feminine is not necessarily gendered.
Yeah.
And I have I have an unusual relationship to femininity, sexuality, gender. I think everybody does if they look hard enough. But I think within us all is this balance in either direction of feminine and masculine traits, and I'm interested in the dominance of the masculine traits within all things. But particularly because Catherine Marks this morning was saying that she felt like she felt very stupid every time she made a mistake when she was learning to engineer, and I was like, I relate to that. I feel stupid if I make I go bright red. I feel stupid if I make a mistake on the guitar, or even if I say something that's silly. I feel silly. I feel ready to be accused of being silly a lot.
That's really interesting. But that's probably one of the main reasons why I work alone. I mean, obviously I say that, and I have co-produced my record with a man. But I mean, we have a very close relationship. It's kind of almost like a brother. But in terms of, you know, I would never really want to go and work with a superstar producer in that environment, because I probably, like you, I would feel if I made a mistake, I would feel like a silly, or like a fraud, or like that they wouldn't take me seriously because I didn't understand a certain, like, you know, they'd start talking about a compressor that I didn't really understand how it worked, or so that's probably one of the reasons actually why is because if you do it alone, you can make mistakes in private, and it's fine.
There's one other thing that I because our music's very different, obviously, and I understand that our writing style is very different. And I don't even know if this is relevant to the way that you're making music, but I feel a sort of like sadness if I release a song. You know, I play a song live and then it's out there and it's on YouTube. Some hardcore fan puts it up, and then it's another year and a half until it's on the record, and I feel sadness that song doesn't have its context.
I hate that.
Do you foresee an album having a cohesiveness?
I definitely, you know, I worked really hard to make sure that, I mean, I didn't write 10 songs and just kind of put them in any order. I really tried to, I mean, the way that I consume music is that I listen to records back to front, like, front to back. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I don't really listen to singles. If I like an artist, I will literally buy their record, like generally on vinyl, and I will sit down and I will listen to it from start to finish, and that will probably be if I like it, all I listen to for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then maybe I'll move on to something else, and I will dip back in and, you know, on Spotify, whatever it is, listen to kind of my favourites from that record as a whole. But generally I consume it I have a very passionate relationship with that record for a very short time. It's kind of like a fling. Have a fling with the record.
I know.
And kind of overeat and kind of become obsessed by it. So I was very conscious when I was building mine, even though obviously there were chunks of it already out there, to make sure that from start to finish it feels as if that was always the order it should have been in, even though people have sort of been delivered it in a different order. And that hopefully by doing that and putting that out into the world, that will erase the order that people are already familiar with. And in a way, I mean, hopefully there will be so many more people that will discover it, other than just the people who know the songs and love the songs already. So for some people it will be.
That's not going to change in music, I don't think, the impact of an album, of a body of work. Because there's been, you know, I've thought a lot about why 45 minutes, you know, it's not even 45 minutes, it's like 37 minutes is the ideal time. And what, you know, why should that be? And especially as we don't consume it generally, we don't have to consume music on vinyl, so we're not constricted to that time anymore. Because I've been travelling so much, I've fallen by the wayside with listening to records start to finish, because I don't have a record player at the moment because I travel so much. And I really miss it. I think the most inspired I ever was when I had a tactile relationship with music in that way.
I think for me, I would definitely agree with you. And one of the difficult things about spending a long time making a record, as I have done by kind of current standards, is that when you're making a record, you're not listening. as
right,
much.
Right.
And so actually I really found the last 6 months very difficult because I wasn't falling in love with music that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And that I had.
Yeah, that's true. It's either or, isn't it? You're either like.
Well, you have to be listening, because you have to, on the way home or whatever it is, be listening to yours and writing lyrics, and especially if you're thinking about the production as well, because someone else is producing it, then you can just write it and kind of, obviously you'll have an opinion on it, but it's very different to the kind of opinion if you're the person making those changes.
Yeah.
And once you learn to learning to produce is kind of horrible in one sense, in that you listen to music completely differently.
Yes, that's a very analytical, self-analytical process that you're going through.
Yeah. And then, touching a space, I go, dun, dun, dun.
So we have Marika Hackman has joined us, and Shura has been making a record. How long have you been making the record?
2 years.
Two records.
No, 2 years.
2 years, and Lady M, you're making record number 2.
In like 2 days.
Because you're doing it all live, so it's happening quite quickly, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we had a session, we've done half of it in a couple of weeks.
Do you feel like you are taking more creative control this time round? And I'm not saying that you're taking that away from Charlie Andrews, who's genius, but do you have more of a voice, do you think, now?
I don't know, I feel like I definitely had a lot of creative control with the first one.
Yeah.
But it's just a very different kind of creative control. And also working with other musicians and having to arrange everything, as in like parts and stuff, it definitely makes me feel like I am doing more, certainly pre-going into the studio, which is a weird feeling. I have to think about stuff a lot more.
Are you more interested in fidelity, which is a word I've just enjoyed saying earlier today?
Wait, but that's the quality of the sound, right? Forgive me.
Yeah, fidelity. Yeah, high fidelity is
dumb.
I
think I'm conscious of it in the sense that I don't want it to be too slick. Like I'm very aware that I want it to sound quite kind of a bit all over the place, a bit more energy and a bit more fun, and not focus too much on getting everything perfect. And sort of that first record's really it's got like an ethereal sense because everything has been controlled so much, whereas this is like shoving 5 people in a room and playing, or 2 rooms, and playing all together and just dealing with what comes out of that rather than thinking about that beforehand. I suppose
I like that approach.
Yeah, it's fun, and you get a lot more like weird stuff, like people laughing and screaming and making.
Yeah, and that's what I used to love. Like when I used to listen to records, which me and Shura were talking about listening to records, when you get to hear the penny fall, or something fall in the room, or the penny drop. That's fantastic to me. But then because as you said, like I have to release so much. I have no I just it out.
Yeah.
And so because I can't wait around for it. So I have like this awe of people who can spend 2 years making a record. I just don't have the patience to do that.
I didn't have a choice in a way though. I mean, if I could have done it sooner, I absolutely would have done. That was just how long it took me.
But
I'm really jealous of your like this approach that you're taking with this record, of your last record, and probably all of them really, like with just approaching it as a live musician, like recording a moment rather than recording a song.
Right. Do you not consider yourself a live musician?
Well, when I'm playing live, I do, but even then, that's so different to how it would be if that's the way I wrote. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm having to take out because I can't physically play all of it live, and I don't want to have countless tracks on backing. Like we do use some backing, but that's something that I really don't like about my live show, and it's something that I want to eventually change. And I'd love to go in and spend kind of 6 months writing and then do what it is that you're doing and play with humans, like all at once, rather than just being solitary.
Yeah.
What do you think
more fun
has stopped you from doing that?
Just that no one will play with me.
I'll play with you.
But that's why I've reached out to people like Marika and said, like, can we jam? Because I never had that experience.
Have you watched Secret Life of a 5-year-old?
Yes.
5-year-olds.
No, I need to.
It's
so
good. Sweet. Because we're basically, I feel this in music, and I've been talking to Ambi about dealing with the rejection of doing this podcast, like the rejection of people doing this podcast, and I feel like a 4-year-old who somebody said, no, you can't play with me, Like, it's as simple as that. I'm just playing that out. You know, that you keep doing that all your life. You know, sometimes people do play with me, and that's nice. That sounded.
Sometimes you
weird.
play with people and you're like, this is not fun as well. So
Yeah.
I hope that's not it.
And
Play with you've got good toys.
Well, yeah. And sometimes you don't want people to play with your
playing with Marika isn't that fun. And then I was just like, crikey. No, we're having fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Right? It's fun for
Yeah,
you.
no, it's fun. Yeah. It's great. Again, though, that's something
Sorry.
I've never really done.
Yeah.
That, like, the
Yes.
idea of, like,
Yeah.
jamming is something that absolutely terrifies me.
Why? And why was it easy with Shura?
So the reason it scares me is because I don't think I can play well enough to just do that. As in, when I come up with guitar parts and things like that, I think about them first and I sort of construct them and learn them, and then I can play them. But being in a room with a load of amazing musicians, having that pressure and then having to come up with something on the spot is really scary.
Do you not think that you're an amazing musician?
That's quite a hard question to answer without coming across like a massive arsehole.
Yes, but this is interesting. Women are very afraid, I think, of coming across as an arrogant arsehole. All
Yeah.
people are. Nobody wants to like acclaim themselves brilliant. But I think that there is a little. I've noticed a gap in women's approach in this way. That the fact that you channel music in the way that you do and you play and you write in the way that you are makes you an amazing musician.
Oh, thank you.
And the way that you compose and the consistency with the music that you make in its tone makes you an amazing musician. Not that I don't know how you feel about being a musician. Yeah. And I struggled for a long time with this, like not feeling like I wasn't a musician, but I am. You know, and I'm a good one because I'm able to channel it in this particular way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think making this last record, and it's all female musicians, who I would say are kind of more able guitarists and things than me. So they've been coming up with lines and throwing them on, and that's been really exciting and given me confidence to start trying things out as well.
Yeah,
it feels a bit more kind of even.
I'm not a singer. I sing because no one else will do it if I don't.
Right.
Because I've written the song, right? So I don't feel like I have an amazing voice. It's just like no one, like my twin brother wasn't in the right register for him, and no one would play with me, and so I discovered a voice.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't brilliant, but I knew what I couldn't do. I couldn't do what Mariah Carey could do or Whitney Houston. So I did this other thing that was very, very different, but I just made it work for myself.
Well, that's what's brilliant about music is that like I've noticed of late, just don't know why, but recently that there's a difference between athleticism, an athletic approach to music where you're emulating and expressing those muscles like lifting weights, and then there's this like intuitive natural course, artistic course.
I think it's a lot more creative.
Yeah.
I think anyone who's drawn to be creative, when they're starting out, they're not going to have a good grasp on their instrument. They're just going to be trying to make something.
Yeah.
Which is when you find out your limitations and you sort of grow within that space.
I took a particular interest in Marika's first album Response because I heard her album and I was like, holy shit, it's going to change everything. Like, this is amazing. Like, it's going to take over the world. And I was so surprised. Like, it got a really good response. And don't let me
No, yeah, but it
out,
definitely
like,
didn't take over the world.
Yeah, but you want it that way. You definitely want it that way. But I was so shocked by how people responded to your schooling and your look. How did you feel about it?
Well, I was angry. I was pissed off. I thought it was just unfair and irrelevant. And no one was focusing on what I'd spent a long time doing, and instead focusing on stuff from 6 years prior. Yeah. Which is odd.
Yeah.
Also having in that time put out like 3 or 4 EPs.
Yeah.
In that space of time as well, they were still banging on about where I went to school and other associations with certain fashion brands.
I do think that like female musicians are exoticized in a way that male musicians aren't, and so that when you're presented to the world, and one of the first ways in which you're presented is with a body of work, people don't really take you seriously as a musician until you have your first album.
Yeah.
And much more so than men, not exclusively, are presented as a product, a thing to be analysed, whether it's the colour that you dye your hair, whether or not you have makeup, or whether what it is that you're wearing, where you went to school, in a way that I don't think that a male musician doing the same thing that you did would have had quite the same kind of
multifaceted analyzing. I think the best way of summing this up is like without going too dark down the rabbit hole, because I felt very impassionately angered by how you were portrayed, and how little people paid attention to how important that record was. And again, no more compliments for you.
I've already clocked like 4. I'm writing them down right now.
I mean, I remember going through that when I was a young artist. Not that we're not far apart in age, but before I had a strong sense of what I could and couldn't agree to, I was put in makeup and shot shot by video. I mean, or camera, and so uncomfortable, and it's so unrepresentative of me. I've had a lot of caffeine as an artist, and I thought, she's going to have to learn to say no to that.
Which I have now.
Yeah, but that wasn't in your nature at that time.
No, well, I was like just starting out, and I kind of thought, anything that comes my way is probably a good opportunity, probably these people know what they're talking about. Yes, put me in a leather skirt after I've told you in an email that I don't wear skirts.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay. And they sort of coerce you into doing things, and I was there on my own for that particular shoot. Didn't have any team with me or anything like that, so I was just like, and I think I was about 19, and just kind of like, okay, I'll just do it. But now I don't. But even now, like, I'm just like end of last year, I went to do a thing for a magazine, and this is when I had like my blue hair,
which I stole.
And then I was like, this is good, because they're not going to try and make me some sort of weird 60s folkster, which seems to be the attitude everyone wants to take with me. Went in, and they were still trying to put my hair in a beehive.
Oh, God.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no, you're not going to do this. And then were trying to put me in a dress, and then instead they just took off my denim jacket and gave me another denim jacket. And I was like,
so why can't I wear my own?
Yes, why can't I feel more comfortable in it? It's nicer.
Has anybody ever tried to impose an image on you? Have you always had quite a strong sense of...
I had I'm a bit older than you, and also coming to my first record slightly older than either of you would have done, and I think that's been really a luxury, actually, because I have a stronger, not saying that you wouldn't necessarily have had a sense of what it is that you didn't want to do, but I had being the character that I am and being the age that I am, have a really strong sense of in terms of image, what I'm comfortable, not necessarily with interviews. Some people can ask me questions, and I always feel like I must answer them, even if it's something I don't necessarily want to cover, just because I have to, kind of eager to please in that way. But when it comes to image, absolutely not. I'm kind of very sure. Will not. I've had really difficult, not difficult in the grand scheme of like the world's problems, but kind of terse moments with stylists who are kind of wanting to put me in kind of a jacket with roses coming out of the bright red and pink, and I'm like, I would not wear that, and can I wear this? And then being like, no, and I'm like, but you brought it, so why can't I wear it? And they're like, I don't like it.
When I've been on those kind of shoots, and I have had a buffer of the male variety, they almost, I've seen them feeling quite awkward, like as in kind of a bit like, well, like, because generally the stylists are women, and they'll be like, you girls go and you just sort that out, and it's kind of like, no, I don't want to wear the leather skirt. Also, another thing that I think is like a really horrible situation to be put in, and is a big like confidence knocker, and it's kind of hard to continue and feel like empowered in a shoot when you've handed all of your sizes over like a week earlier, and they still bring sample size clothing and give it to you to try on in front of a group of people, and you have to walk back out and say it doesn't fit, I can't wear any of these clothes.
Trousers.
It's always the trousers.
I'll never do trousers. Like I bring my own trousers because I'm just, I don't want to go through that. Sweating whilst struggling to do a top button. It's just like not.
And I'm feeling incredibly uncomfortable.
That's like because the reason I bring this up is because this has interrupted you doing your music. Like to me, this has interrupted you. this kind of conflict that's unnecessary. Why are we doing these? Like, why is it expected of us to do that?
You are a product, aren't you? I suppose you don't write music because you think I want to be a product that is sold to people, but you have a, you know, to get into the boring side of it, you have a product manager. When I first met my product manager, I thought we were designing she would design my merch. Honestly, that's what I thought. I was like,
Right.
we'll talk about merch. No, that you're the product.
I've never thought.
You're the product, and
Yeah.
I think what you said, Laura, about it sort of being a distraction is really, because it's almost not as serious. It can disempower you, but it's almost not always that. It's not always as strong as that, but it is. There are so many things that distract you from your process, even if you don't really understand what it is. That is your process. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty good, you guys.
Cool.
I think we got some good shit there.
Great.
Anything you want to add?
No.
Deathly so.
Yeah.
We just had the
Thanks for playing with me.
I'm speaking.
Awkward. Happy.
Edit that out.
I want a fag.
Shura, thank you so much.
No, thanks. It was really nice chatting.
Yeah, it's really nice.